Welcome to the NC Spin After Spin, opinions from thought leaders in our state. I want to ask each of you, as we approach the end of the year, it's our NC Spin tradition to talk about the biggest news stories of the year about to end. So I want to ask each of you to tell us what you think was the big story for 2018. Chris Fitzsimon?
Well, I think there are a lot of nominees. I'll throw my suggestion in there. I think it was the breaking of the supermajorities in the House, State House, and also the State Senate, which caught a lot of people by surprise. I think the larger picture is the National Republican Party is in a mess with the President Trump, sort of cornered in the White House, tweeting all hours, all kind of crazy things, and firing everybody. So I think that it's the shift, the North Carolina political shift is either going to speed up and the Republicans are going to continue to suffer unless things change dramatically in Washington. So I'll say
Is it just in Washington that they've got to change? Or
well, no, I mean, I think that's the single thing that's responsible for what's happening in North Carolina and around the country. The Democrats gained now more than 300, I think it's close to 400 legislative seats, flip chambers, won governorships. The Trump administration is a disaster for Republicans, and that's happening in North Carolina. And the fact that Governor Cooper's every veto he makes, starting in 2019, won't automatically be overridden is a big story. No,
Could be.
Well, but the margin, it's going to be difficult.
Phil Kirk, what do you think the top news story of last year was?
Mine is not quite as exciting as that one, but I chose the weather, the hurricanes, the snow, and now the near record rainfall and record rainfalls in a number of parts of the state, and the state's response to it.
In sounding out our panelists, that was one of the ones that kept coming up over and over with them.
And I would also say that every governor that I remember in both parties have done outstanding jobs in dealing with very serious situations. Yeah. The hard job is the after. And getting things through the bureaucracy, federal and state.
Yeah, and all of the volunteers who came here to help with us, and unfortunately, sadly, after a few days, a few weeks, maybe even a month or two, things they got to go back to their lives and things kind of go back to normal, except for those people who were affected by this weather.
Don't have time to go into it, but we created something called Fast NC, where we got Democrat and Republican leaders together, and we're raising money, and we've raised $1.3 million so far. It's going directly to teachers and staff in classrooms. We presented checks at each meeting of the state board.
How would someone contribute to that if they wish to do so?
Google Public Schools of North Carolina, and you'll go to the website, and in the left-hand top corner, it's Fast NC.
Fast NC.
Right, and you can write a check. It goes to the NC Education Fund.
And you write that check out to
NC Education.
Phil Kirk.
Do you need my home address?
Bev Perdue, top news story of 2018.
Both of those. The elections was important for North Carolina and for the country, I think. I was hopeful, too, that the House Democrats and Republicans would begin to cooperate. That's not going to happen. I agree with those comments. And obviously the weather. I live in the middle of the hurricane zone, and it's depressing to go home.
And you got affected by it down in New Bern.
A little. New Bern was just devastated.
Oh,
3 houses
still
on my street are all gone. And the volunteers, Tom, I beg to differ. There are still thousands of volunteers in eastern North Carolina. Yesterday afternoon, some man sent down 500 bikes for kids who had their name on a wish list. And
really?
People are doing incredible things. This state is always good to pick up and give to help other folks.
And what better time of the year to be able to see and hear and know about it?
It's wonderful, wonderful.
Incredible. It's kind of an inspiring story, and I think everybody will agree this year we need a little Christmas.
We do, and I hope the Christmas lasts all year.
Our David Wood is so correct when he does his Christmas carol, and need a little Christmas. John Hood, top news story of 2018.
Well, certainly these are all important stories. I think if we're looking in part about what puts North Carolina on the national news map, we would have to say election administration, electoral fraud allegations is a very big story. It's a story in the context of the voter ID saga that's been going on for a number of years, where the voters approved voter ID constitutional amendment, the legislature enacted a statute, the governor vetoed it, legislature overrode, then you've got a series of lawsuits, et cetera. But of course also the 9th District congressional race, bringing up allegations of electoral fraud, not just in the 9th District race, but in other potential local races, and going back several election cycles involving Republicans and Democrats, involved sometimes hiring the same dude, McRae Dallas, who had worked for both parties. But that's a very big story, and it is a big national story, unfortunately, for North Carolina.
They couldn't be here on set, but a number of our panelists sounded off with other issues. One of our millennials said that the big story was the Cambridge Analytica and Facebook, which you can certainly understand with that age. Another one nominated losing Amazon, HQ2, and Apple, the Toyota Mazda loss. Although, by the way, the governor is saying they're still in contemplations with Apple over discussions here. And then another one nominated the great squabble and the change in atmosphere in the UNC Board of Governors, and especially the firing of Margaret Spellings. So those were the nominees from amongst our panelists. Now, the $64 question, can we reach consensus on one top story?
This is a political show. The top political story was the Democratic resurgence of 2018.
Any argument with that?
No.
Well, thank you for watching the After Spin. We'll have more video all during the week on ncspin.com.